All right. Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon or good morning, wherever you are. Nice to see you all here. As usual, I'm about 12 to 10 minutes early. If you're watching this recorded, you can skip 10 to 12 minutes ahead. If you don't, if you don't want to listen to me greeting everyone. Nice to see all of you here. Chris Conman is here. Pablo Pina, Native American, gold and silver ready for a slam down, question mark. Long lived coins. I'm not concerned about slam downs. I just want to hopefully add as much as possible. Yeah, my eye is still a bit rough, but it's going to get better. It's still a little bit sore. Steve Goodwin, good evening. T. Corsi, good afternoon from Seattle. Hi, Steve. Cozy Fantuti, hi, evening. Dave Monkey, I'm well, thank you. You can see Rudy's here. There he is. He's chewing his toy. Spin-off Buckets says first time on the chat. Good, good. Norbert says, hi, Mario. Roll Tide Mario. Sonny Olofsson from Sverige, Sweden. No-ism in a free market. I guess you could argue that. Capitalism. Yeah. Mario and Rudy from Pace Arrow. Hello. Love the title. We haven't had free market. Yeah, we can't have a free market with central planning. And I think central banks basically are central planners. They control the price of credit. What's silver going to do? Well, it's not what silver's going to do. It's what fiat currencies are going to do. They're going to continue to sink. So that's the way I see it. Yeah, it's been frustrating the last few years, but yeah, I continue to hold it. What did you think of his claim about Rob Kirby? Is that true, Neil? Not sure what that's about. Hi, Jim Millward. Nice to see you here. Jenny Jerome from Gotham. Manic Miner says, hi, Mario and Rudy. The leak stopped, Native American. The surgeon did the surgery. She had another surgeon looking as well, and they said it's fit, that there's no more leak, and there wasn't that much, but she wanted to make sure it went away. It could have gone away without the operation. So yeah, it's good news. Is it worth adding palladium? Personally, I don't have any palladium nor platinum. I stick to gold and silver. You could if you want, but it's not something that I'm yeah, for me, it's not really a monetary metal, even though you could consider it. It is a precious metal, though. RB says the Messiah is coming to Israel. All right. Rafi, yeah, I think Rafi is fine. I saw some of the comments earlier here about what Rafi said when he was on with me. And I can tell you that I didn't agree with everything Rafi said. So, but I let him say what he felt like saying. And I think that's the way things should be. People should have the right to say what they want. But it doesn't mean to say that I agreed with everything he said. Pace Arrow says a good CBD product will cure glaucoma. Well, I don't need it anymore because I've done the operation that cures it. So thanks for the suggestion. But it's called trabeculectomy. Basically, it regulates the eye pressure. That's because that's what glaucoma is. My right eye pressure was very high, and it's now come off after the operation. Yeah, I think you mentioned what he said about sending the people from Gaza to Egypt. I think that was a bit. I think that's wrong because there's over 2 million there, and it is where they're from, and I think that's wrong to do that. Yeah, Alain Roy, I was thinking about that with what's going on in the Middle East. Everyone's kind of forgotten the Argentinian first round of their presidential election. I think it's still fairly early there, so we're probably going to have to wait till tomorrow morning to find out. But I think Milei and Massa, I think they're the two main candidates that are probably going to finish first and second, and then I think there's going to be a second round in November. So there, so we're probably gonna have to wait till got the wrong thing on. So yeah, just for those who are coming on, we still got about 7 minutes before I focus on the main subject, and then I'll take as many questions as you want. We can talk about basically almost everything you want. But yeah, it's free market capitalism on the edge of the abyss. And of course, that's really nothing new to us. But I think it's important that we keep focusing on that topic, especially now with all the distractions that we have, and especially with what's going on geopolitically. And I think the powers that be are desperate, and they want the general public to beg for more government. And I think that's the wrong way to go about things. And I'm not saying we're going to succeed in bringing small government, but we have to keep the message of small government out there, or else, there's no hope, in my opinion, for a more just future, so to speak. And I'm going to reference this book here, The Price of Time by Edward Chancellor. I just finished reading it. I really, I have recommended this before, but again, I'll recommend it one more time if you really want to understand what has been going on the last 20, 25 years in terms of interest rates. This is a good book. I know I've been talking about it as well for the last, 8, 10 years. Or 8 years on this channel, but Edward Chancellor does a really good job. And the reason why I spoke about the title of the live stream is about free markets are near the abyss, or free market capitalism, if you want to call it, is because Edward Chancellor talks about Hayek's The Road to Serfdom, and we'll touch upon that. Andrew Watson is here from Basingstoke. Slava Key. Belly Dance Arabia is here. Alain Roy is here. Frank Brown, Let's Get Physical. Not the Olivia Newton-John song, yeah. Jillian B, hi Jillian. Neil's Han Dynasty is here. Yeah, gold had a good week last week. Not just in dollars, but all the major currencies. It's made new highs in Chinese yuan, in Aussie dollar, Kiwi dollar. In pounds, it's very much near the all-time high. I think the all-time high is 1648 back in March. It traded up to 1641 on Friday. It closed down a little bit, but we'll have to see what happens. Jack B says we live in an oligarchy where free market means free to. Yeah, I agree. It's really tough. It's not easy. We are told that we have a free market, that we have anything but. Belly Dance Arabia says Jim Rickards says gold going to 15,000 in 3 years. Well, we'll see. I mean, I don't want to make number predictions. All I think is going to happen is that fiat currencies are going to continue to lose value, and they can only really lose value, especially the dollar versus gold and silver, because losing value against each other, like fiat currencies losing value, is it's not really a measure of anything because they're all a pile of garbage, fiat currencies. Hi, BP, nice to see you. Fitz, chivalry, greetings from Merry England. It was a beautiful day today, sunny, but chilly, but a nice autumn day. Yeah, we went out for lunch, my wife and I, for Sunday lunch. Rudy stayed at home on his own. He's coping now, staying on his own 2 hours or so. Yeah. Silver drill pickle from the Permian Basin oil field in Texas. Isn't that near, that's near like Midland, Texas, isn't it? The Permian Base? That's Bush country, George Bush country, I think. Martin Luke from Blazing Smoke. Is that Basingstoke, you mean? Our time is manipulated. That's the root of all evil, devil, evil. Yeah. Well, yeah. Can we avoid all-out war? Well, I don't have a gripe with anyone. I try to be, respect everyone. It seems to be that the people at the top love war, and it's a very profitable endeavor. The accounting is done in deaths and profits. I think that was Smedley Butler who said that, it's the best business there is. Wars, pandemics as well are good because everyone becomes fearful and the government can do whatever they want. And, their cronies, the big corporations always make a fortune. And the same, and it happens every time, unfortunately. Dylan Roberts from North Wales. Want to know why Indians love their gold? The Indian rupee was pegged at 4.79 per US dollar. Now it's over 83. Yeah, I think it's even before that. It's just a cultural thing. Gold for the Indians, it's not just because of the currency. I agree with you, but it's more than just that. I think it's been something that, the Indian bride always gets a lot of gold jewelry at her wedding. And that's been a long-term tradition, I would say. Yeah, diplomacy seems dead, and Durarama. Yeah, it's strange because yesterday there was a peace conference in, I think it was in Egypt, Cairo, and most countries were there, even the UK, France, Germany, but the only two countries missing were Israel and the US. Why couldn't they show up to try to sort things out? Yeah, another thing I didn't agree with Rafi, and Rafi, you're a good friend, but when he said that he doesn't want peace, he wants to win. And I'm not saying, I just think that kind of attitude doesn't really help things. And I'm not defending either side here. I just think that it's been long enough that they've tried to win, and we keep getting the same problems over there. So maybe, the definition of insanity is to keep trying the same thing over and over again. And I think that's what's been happening in that region, unfortunately. HR says, Lynette Zhang came to Australia last month and finally got to meet her in person. I certainly wasn't disappointed. She was wonderful. She kindly signed the casing of my favorite silver coin. Nice. The Life of Jules. Can you explain why our financial system demands the constant expansion of debt in order for it to survive? Yeah, because fiat currency is backed by debt, like government debt is the other side of the currency. Or, yeah, if you look at a banknote, if you still have one, it says it's a promissory note. So it's a debt. And usually when the banks issue debt, when you take a loan, that creates currency. The thing is, they lend you £1,000 or $1,000, but they don't issue the interest. So you have to find the interest somehow. So systemically, there's never enough currency to pay the debt. So they have to keep issuing it more and more. And under a sound money system or a commodity-based system, it's not debt-based. It's based on gold and silver. So the more gold and silver you produce, the more money in the system. So in a fiat currency system, you have to keep producing, creating debt. And now it's getting even worse because interest rates are going up, bond yields, and you have to find even more currency, and that's a huge problem. Hopefully that is clear for you. Yeah, there's no money made from peace. Brazilianaire says, I agree. Frank Brown, do you think gas and electric will go up or down in 2024? Well, with what's happening in the world, I'd say it's probably going to go up. Yeah, Darren, I think Rafi is still fine. I saw he did an interview, a live stream with Phil Lowe. I mean, you should follow his YouTube channel at Rafi Farber. You know, he's still posting videos, so I think he's fine. BP, are you familiar with the the Central African franc? Yeah, no, I'm familiar. It's just a normal fiat currency they use. They still call it the franc. I'm not sure how much the French Treasury controls it, but yeah, it's like something that was left from the colonial days. Would you go back to Turkey again to play more golf, Chris Conley? Oh yeah, definitely. Very good courses down there in Belek. Very good courses. I would go back. Hopefully things will be stable enough in that part of the world. So let's go to this book here, The Price of Time. And the reason, one of the main points that Edward Chancellor makes is that interest rates have been historically controlled by the powers that be, mainly because sometimes people abuse how much they charge of interest. And, you know, if you think about it, it's like sometimes unsustainable. They call it usury. And this is even before Christianity. And he also distinguishes between interest on, because interest is let's say you're able to create value or trade or do something and you accumulate money or capital and you're able to save it. And then there's a farmer who's low on cash, but he needs a loan so he can buy grains to plant more. You know, that's a good kind of loan because it's productive. And I think historically what people are against is interest on just paper money or financial interest on something that's not really productive, like debt. And he distinguishes that. And the other thing as well is that one of the things he notes is that every time that governments, central banks try to keep interest rates artificially low, politicians as well always love low interest rates. It creates distortions. It encourages a lot of malinvestments, especially in real estate. and it actually doesn't help the economy because if you think about it, if an economy grows by 5%, interest rates should be at least 5%, which means that your money, if you invest it, it should produce at least what the economy grows at. And I think he finished this book in 2022, so he didn't see all. When he was writing it, he didn't see the massive rise in yields that we've had. But yeah, so basically, he's saying that yes, we kind of had and have had in the West like a free market, but in credit and money, in interest rates, we haven't, because central banks have been manipulating interest rates lower, and it's created loads of problems, right? And the other thing it does is that it destroys capital, because the negative rates that we've seen in the last 5-6 years, even in Europe, that means that it's punishing capital, because you're putting capital there in the bank and you're losing it, and it doesn't encourage investing. And in Japan, we still have negative rates, and a free market capitalist system, you need to, the private sector needs to invest. So that's the other bad thing about manipulating interest rates. And he mentions this book here towards the end, and he thinks that we could be on the road to serfdom, because they've manipulated interest rates so much that now government has to get involved in a lot of things, because the private sector has been decimated, especially small and medium-sized businesses. And that's a bad thing. And he notes, though, that Hayek wrote this book during World War II, and he thought this kind of road to serfdom would happen after World War II, and it didn't. But Edward Chancellor sees it happening now. And my hope is that this current monetary system collapses, and we have to go to sound money and a free market. So I'll take some questions, and then I'm going to talk about Iceland as well, because Edward Chancellor talks about Iceland, which is really interesting. Case in point. Mr. B, greetings at Silver Task. Jana Williams, free market capitalism died in 1913. Well, at least in the US it did, yeah. Echo, the alleged head of Iran's nuclear weapons program, was assassinated November 27, 2020. Iran's foreign minister suggested that Israel was behind assassination. Well, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Thinking of solar panels, not sure, 13,500, not sure solar panels. Any thoughts? It's strange, because my wife and I were talking about these renewable the other day, and even the wind turbines, apparently after some years, they're no good, and they have to cut them up and bury them in the ground for for posterity. And I'm not even sure about solar panels, how long they last, if they're really worth having. But I'm not a specialist. So yeah, it's not, I don't think it's trumped up to be. David Cord, very concerned about the financial viability of UK pension providers. Any suggestions as to safe alternatives, ways to save one's retirement? I dislike putting all of one's savings in gold. Well, well, then keep it in with the pension providers if you don't want to put it all in gold. But you have to think of counterparty risk. You have to think of the bond market. Bond markets are in a bear market, I think is going to last a long time. Yes, they could rebound soon, but a lot of these pension funds, they're forced to invest in bonds. Yeah, so I actually think having physical gold outside the system is a great way of saving. It's tax efficient. You know, sovereigns and Britannias are capital gains tax free. They're legal tender, and there's no counterparty risk. But yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, maybe spread the risk. Maybe have more than one pension provider. But then there's a lot of costs and fees. But I'm not a specialist, or maybe just also invest in yourself. I mean, or in your family. That's the way I look at it. Alain, will we see an asset price crash before the next wave of inflation? I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think we might have a small correction, and like we're already seeing an asset price crash in the bond market, and stocks haven't done that well except for the Nasdaq, where there's 7 big companies that are doing well. So, I mean, from what I'm seeing, you know, with gold and the yield curve, it looks like we're very near a big accident. And with what's going on geopolitically, I don't see governments cutting back on spending and money. I know the central banks are tightening with their QT and interest rates, but I think it's very close to them turning or pivoting around. That's the way I see it. I don't think they're going to allow any big crashes in asset prices, because the whole system depends on asset prices being elevated. I mean, I think the debt increased massively, global debt, in the first 6 months of this year. So they're going to keep that going. And Rama says, Clive said in previous videos that he thinks rates will continue to go up. I believe the same. I believe the same. I've been saying it for the last 3 years. I said, and I even made videos early this year saying that when rates were a lot lower, that rates were going to go to unimaginable levels. Yeah, in the meantime, we could see a correction down a little bit in yields, but I think the trend is higher, and the charts, long-term charts, look really bullish for yields, bearish for the price of bonds. Silver Tax says, Bloomberg commentator says 10-year yield at 5% is new normal. Well, I remember when I started dealing in bonds in the late 80s, early 90s, the 3-month bill, US Treasury bill, was at 7%. The 10-year yield was probably 8%. So I think he's being a little bit, I think it could be even more. It could be 6 or 7. And it could even pop up to double digits as well, I would say. Let's see, I got some stuff here to show you guys. This is an example of, I spoke about this a few minutes ago, about how, distorting interest rates and destroying savings really destroys the private sector, how can I say, savings. And this is a symptom of this. UK government set to unveil new pensions investment vehicle, British business bank to lead push for funds to invest in high growth companies. So you see, when you destroy capital through low interest rates like we had from actually since the beginning of 2002, or beginning of the century until a couple of years ago, you see the government has to step in and plans a new investment vehicle overseen by the state. So they've destroyed the free market and savings so badly that the government has to step in. And governments, as we know, always, everything they do, the opposite happens. So you can bet this is going to be a disaster. And is it because I'm negative? No, because government, they're not, these people are politicians. How can you trust politicians, to take your money and do something good with it? I don't think, so this is an example here of what Edward Chancellor said, when you disrupt interest rates and you keep it artificially low and you keep real rates negative, you destroy savings. And this is a great example of that. So there you go. And says 2024 approved sovereign will be out soon. I mean, I do have some proof coins, but unless you're a collector, they're a bit more expensive than the normal bullion coins. You should check maybe with Gold Investments. They've got some good deals on the sovereigns. I think they still have the 5% off their price on the various dates. I'm not sure they have on the 2024. Echo says a real life example. Yeah, that's a real life example there. And I saw again that the government is thinking of extending the Help to Buy scheme for first-time buyers of houses. They can't really just let the market do their work, can they? Chris Conman, thank you for your super chat. Is there a price point for gold and silver to reach where they won't be easily manipulated? Yeah, I think for gold is if we go above 2100, and for silver, basically it has to be 50. I think if we break through 50, that will be breaking the all-time high from 1980 and 2011. That will be a huge level, I think. Yeah, gold, if we get above the the 2070 level, 2100, and I'm talking about spot here because I've heard some people over the weekend say that gold traded above 2000, but that was the futures price. I look at the spot price, which is still, I think it touched 1997 on Friday and it closed around 1981. Jim Willie was saying, he said an old expert from the 1970s had claimed gold could go to 10,000 an ounce. I'm not really concerned in that. I'm not trying to predict prices here. All I look for gold is that it protects the purchasing power of my savings, and it's doing that, especially in the currency here in my country, which is the pound, and it's doing it in dollars too, I think. Belly dance Raven, they don't want us stacking, hence putting Charles on the coins. Well, I mean, I don't care if he's on the coin. Yeah, preferably I'd rather not have him, but it's still a gold coin or a silver coin. I'm not gonna make a fuss about that. It doesn't mean to say that. Yeah, so yeah, that's the way I think. But yeah, it might put some people off, but I think it would be a costly mistake not to buy it. But you can always find old coins. I think Gold Investments, the 5% off is on the old coins. So there you go. John the accountant says, people Monaco's age lived in the best of times, no war, rising asset prices, plenty of employment, free education. I don't think that's true, John the accountant. I mean, there was a Cold War when I was growing up. There was the Six-Day War in 1973. There were a lot of crises. I mean, when I finished university in Switzerland, it took me over a year to get my first, if you want to call it, proper job. It wasn't easy at the time. In the late 80s, early 90s, there was a recession. I think, yeah, it's easy to say that. And yeah, you just have to keep going. Jack B, how do you clean junk silver? You shouldn't clean your coins, Jack B. Yeah, just leave them as they are. It takes the value out of them. But yeah, I wouldn't clean any coins, really. Robert Barnacle says Atkinson's want ID. Someone told me about that as well. They sent me a message through Patreon. I think it's for a certain amount, but I think I asked Gold Investments, they only want ID for anything over, I'm not sure, over 7 or 10,000. And but anything below that, they don't want ID. So you might want to check with Gold Investments. I mean, all the they are my affiliate in the UK, and all the details are below in the description of the video. BP, speaking of spot, that price reference is not even with physical, it's based on an unallocated price. I guess no, but there are people who trade the spot and it's allocated and they take delivery. So yeah, the big money, they're able to get the spot price, maybe a little more above it. And but all spot means is you know, you like you go to you know, next day delivery or 2-day delivery. That's what spot is. And now though, with higher interest rates, the futures price is a lot higher than the spot price, because there's that, you know, when rates are at zero, there's almost no difference. But usually the futures price also includes the cost of storage. Jim Millward, yeah, I know silver at 50 would, yeah, would still not be equal to what it was in the 1980s or in 1980 that it hit it. But I think, yeah, I'm holding on to it. I think it will go a lot higher. Echo, it's harder to buy gold when it's trading near the top. Yeah, I know. You know, that's why I try to buy it whenever I have some spare fiat, and it doesn't matter if the price is up or down. I think I did buy some when the market dropped a month or so ago, and it's like, it feels like, oh, it always feels better when you're buying it at it's a reverse psychology. People want to buy when it's going up, and when it sells off, they don't want to buy. And that's exactly what you should do, because if you like something and if you think something is valuable, you know, if you want to buy a house that you like, you'd rather pay 100,000 than 150,000. So I think that's the way to look at it. I've got some more stuff here. Let's have a look. So I got rid of that. Just another story here that I thought was interesting, and I had to go into archive.ph for this because guess where it is? It's on RT, and if you don't go into archive, you can't get it. Let's get rid of this advert. So this is from yesterday, de-dollarization in Russia, China trade almost complete, minister. So the ruble and the yuan make up 95% of Moscow's trade with Beijing. So I think that's significant. And this is not, in my opinion, this is not just going to happen between Russia and China. It's going to happen between China and many other countries, especially, in the Middle East, the oil and gas producers, and Russia as well, the BRICS expansion. And this is going to mean that more and more people are going to not have to hold as many US dollars. So I thought that was an interesting article that I wanted to show you. Get rid of that. Oh yeah, and this is the one I was talking about. This is another example here in the UK of the government intervening in the free market. Jeremy Hunt looks to extend help for first-time home buyers. So there you go, more interference. And I think the same thing's happening in the US. The Biden administration with all the investment in the renewables, right? All this new green economy, and it's not going to end well, because if it was such a great thing to be involved in, the free market would have gone to it already. So you can bet that if the government has to be involved in it, it's probably not going to end up being very good. What's the average home price in England? I think right now it's around £260,000, the nationwide average house price. Yeah, in London it's probably more like 450 or even 500,000. Belly dance rate, if gold is a tier one asset, does that silently make silver tier one asset too? There's some kind of misunderstanding. A tier one gold is like an asset that you can hold for calculating the equity of a bank. It's an asset, but the tier one capital, so gold is not a tier one asset. It's an asset that can be calculated for calculating tier one capital or equity of a bank. So yeah, it could be the same thing for silver, I would say, but it's not a tier one asset. It's an asset that can be used as part of calculating tier one capital. So there's a difference. If they want to help, they should get the homes built. They have a massive deficit built up from years ago, so no excuse. That's echo. I don't think the government should be involved in any part of the economy. Personally, echo. They should let the market do its job. Whenever government tries to interfere, it really ends up in tears. And that's what Hayek says, from The Road to Serfdom. In a free market, everything, prices are the best indicators, and prices are decentralized. And when millions of people decide what they want to do, how much they want to buy or pay, it's impossible for a central planner, a bureaucrat, to know how many houses there should be, or how much a house should cost, or how much people should pay for rent, but we have anything but that in the UK, but also in other countries. Gianfranco Bergani, marry your brother Rafi. He's still alive. Yeah. Rafi, I mean, you can, I think he did a live stream with someone else today. I mean, you can subscribe to his YouTube channel. What kind of solutions do you find out to change the dirty system you're in? Well, I'm not professing to create any system, really. I'm professing, what I'm saying is that the less government we have, the better. And it's not a system, it's just like people dealing with each other freely, voluntarily. It's like I go up to you, and I've got an ounce of silver and you got, like, I don't know, a pizza, and we exchange. I think that's the best thing. But for some reason, most people think that politicians have to tell us what to do, how to deal with each other, and I think that's not a good way. So there you go. But it's not really a system, a free market. Freedom is not a system. Freedom is just a way of being. And I think the less people interfere in our lives, the better. Retro landscape. Why do they charge VAT on buying silver in the UK, but not gold? Oh, I can tell you the story about that. I think it was Oliver who told me about that. Up until 1999, there was VAT on gold, but the price of gold being higher than the price of silver, substantially higher. What the bullion dealers in the UK did, they used to buy gold VAT free from Belgium, and then they would claim the VAT back from the taxmen here in the UK, and the taxmen used to lose a lot of money. And so they stopped the VAT on gold because that's what happened. In silver, maybe that will happen if the silver price goes up a lot and the bullion dealers start buying silver from abroad and claiming VAT that they didn't pay. So that's why they cut the VAT on gold in 1999, because the taxman was losing a lot of money from that scheme. Echo, where will this trade embargo on high-end semiconductors to China lead us? Surely not China seizing Taiwan. Where will the trade embargo on high-end? Well, I haven't seen that story, but I've seen that the Chinese have also put it's going to be more difficult to import, to export. They've put export controls on graphite, and graphite is a really important component of batteries, electric vehicle batteries. So yeah, it's going to continue this raw material commodity war between the BRICS and the West. And I think that's a bad sign. We're not just in we're also in an economic war. As for China invading Taiwan, I don't know. I think China does a lot of business with Taiwan already, and I'm not sure the Americans can block Taiwan from selling semiconductors to China. Or maybe has Taiwan announced that? I don't think that would be a good idea, but maybe they have. Jane DR says, I wonder if a new House Speaker will be elected this week. Well, that's another thing that's a big distraction. Yeah, it's just, I'm sure they'll get someone elected. In the meantime, the national debt will keep rising. Oh, and the deficit, I've got something here, a tweet about the deficit from Ms. Yellen, who said that America can afford 2 wars. So there you go. US wraps up fiscal year with a budget deficit of 1.7 trillion. And I calculated it with the GDP around 27 trillion. That's just over 6% of GDP, the deficit. And that's usually happens during a recession, when the government has to increase fiscal spending, and we're not even in a recession, and I think we will be going into a recession soon. So I expect that 1.7 trillion to be even higher next year. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a $3 trillion deficit for 2024 fiscal year. SAS Finance says if you're really wealthy, gold makes the most sense. If you're middle class, then silver makes the most sense because premiums on fractional gold is way too high. Well, yeah, gold is getting more and more expensive. When I started looking into gold, the sovereign was 50 pounds. Now it's almost 400 to buy. So yeah, it's becoming less and less affordable. Yeah, silver is an alternative, but I think gold is good too. You don't have to, you can find what you call, I don't know why people call it fractional gold, because nothing says that gold should be 1 ounce. I mean, there's a lot of coins that are less than an ounce. But if you shop around, for example, you can get some really good deals with gold investments right now. They're doing sovereigns, various date sovereigns, like the old sovereigns, which is still gold, for 5% below their price. If you use Mario, I think it's Maneco, I'll give you the code. It's on my in the description of all my videos at the moment, but it might not be there, for a while. So take the opportunity. Jim Millward, I wonder if that bowl cut 3-foot goblin yelling thinks humanity can afford the lives. Yeah, these people are kind of sick. It's like I think it was the Secretary of State during the Clinton era. So they asked her about 500,000 Iraqi children died, and she said, "Oh, it was worth the price." So that's how they think. Unfortunately, they have no heart. They're psychopaths or sociopaths. I forgot her name now. That Secretary of State. SAS Finance says he has 20 franc gold pieces. Yeah, they're nice. They're the Vrenelies. They're called the Vreneli. I was looking at some of them the other day, and yeah, the premium here in the UK is quite high for those, 10%. I wouldn't buy it in the UK, but if you can get it at a good, premium in Switzerland. No, it wasn't Condoleezza Rice. It was Madeleine Albright. That was the one. Jeff Bowman, are the Israeli protests in the UK as bad as the US? I don't think they're Israeli protests. I think it's more like the Palestinians, like Muslims protesting. The Israelis aren't protesting, but they're just going out there with flags and shouting. And I mean, I haven't seen any riots or anything, but I'm not in central London. So yeah, there are people who are saying they should be banned from protesting, but that's not the way things should work. But anyway, Over here says, I believe I heard Henry Kissinger say that allowing people from different cultures, different races, and different languages is a big mistake for the US. Well, that's a bit late now. Yeah, it was Madeleine Albright, Martin Luke. She was the one who said that. One thing, and I'm not defending any sides here, but I wanted to check today how many Muslims there are in the UK. And there's 3.8 million, 6.5% of the population. So is it surprising that some of them are going to go out there and protest? Am I saying it's right? No, I'm just like making an observation. I just think that people that are shocked that these people are protesting, they should, realize that we have a lot of those people here, 6.5% of the population. So there you go. You kind of wonder sometimes if it was all done by design over the long term. But I think, yeah, I mean, people should be free. I think in the US, you can even burn I'm not saying you should burn any flag, but if you burn the American flag in the US, nothing happens to you because you should have the freedom of expression. It is, though, ironic and it's kind of a bit ironic because these cultures are not as well. Are we free as well? I don't know. People try to protest during lockdowns and that didn't go very well either. Yeah, Native American, I think what's happening, what this new crisis that we have now in the Middle East, unfortunately, and I feel bad for all the people that are killed, hurt, and whatever, but all it's doing is making people more and more divided. And it's the old Roman strategy of divide and conquer. And I think people are playing right into their hands, unfortunately, instead of like, it's a difficult situation. Stuart asks, would you go back to Antalya in Turkey for more golfing? Someone else asked me that some minutes ago, and I said yes. Great courses there, actually. I think I didn't play the Nick Faldo design course, but the Montgomery course is really good. They're all good courses. Some of the greens are a little bit slow, but they're very, very good courses and very good service and everything. Juliette Goudreau, question: what is the silver to gold ratio? Well, historically, over the centuries, it's been around 15 to 16 to 1. Right now, it's really high. Let me check here. It's somewhere around 80, I think. Let's have a look. XAU, XAG. I'll bring it up for you. It's 84.7 right now, which is quite high. I'm going to bring up a chart and we can look at it. Let's do a monthly one. There we go. There it is, the gold silver ratio. Right now it's just below 85. So hold on, just playing around with it here. Just trying to stretch. But yeah, you can see that in 2011, when silver went to 50, we got down to around 30, 32. And I think the key level to get back below here is 80 now. Once we go below 80, I think silver could take off. Right now, it's still around here. And back in 2020, when gold and silver dropped, we went up to like above 110. But yeah, historically, it's even lower, like in well, it's the same level. But I think in 1980, it went up to it went down to 15 to 1 as well. I think gold was around 900 and silver was around, was it 50? So there are some people who think the ratio could go 1 to 1. Anything's possible. I personally don't think it will. It could go to like 10 to 1. That's how I see it. The great closet, is it possible that central banks keep raising rates and increase their balance sheets at the same time? Not really, because if they increase their balance sheets, that's like cutting rates. So it's like accelerating and braking a car at the same time. So you either do one or the other. So if they stop raising rates, if they keep rates steady, they can still keep doing the balance sheet, quantitative tightening. But eventually, when they start cutting rates, they'll stop the quantitative tightening. And then if things get really bad, they'll have to start QE again. Right now, they've raised rates quite a lot, so they can cut quite a bit before they do QE again. Any idea what the average ratio since 1990? Well, let's see that chart. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, I guess if you look at the chart here, but if you just look at it roughly, I mean, 1990 there, I think I guess is anywhere between, yeah, in the mid 60s, I'd say is the average. So we are way above that average. And 80 used to be a key resistance. And I think that's where we need to get back below. Aware and awake movement. Yeah, Orbo app chaos. KO, yeah, order out of chaos. Yeah. It's this divide and conquer, kind of that same strategy. Isn't it possible for silver to eventually be worth more than gold because the in-ground supply being lower or nearly gone? Anything's possible, Ron Hubbard, but I think if that were to happen, it wouldn't last very long. Personally, that's the way I see it. And yeah, I think there's very few standalone silver miners out there, but the gold mining as well, the miners and the juniors, they've suffered a lot. So there's been very little exploit. There hasn't really been big finds in gold either. So it's not just silver. Are you SBTV group? What Full of Hope? Oh, Ron Hubbard is, yeah. Oh, hi, Full of Hope. I hadn't seen you. Didn't see you around. How are you? Would you buy some equities, Gianfranco Bergagna? I have. I bought some. It was back in September. I think I bought some miners, gold and silver miners, which I had gotten rid of, and right away they lost like 10-15%. Now they've come back and they're just like where I bought them. What other equities? I think energy, anything to do with commodity is a good place to be if you want to have some equities. Like PBR is the Brazilian oil company. It's an ADR. It has a big dividend. I think that's a good company to have. PBR, yeah, it's an ADR. Your thoughts on Hecla? Is that Hecla Mining, HL? Yeah, Hecla Mining, I mean, is silver miner. I think it's always a good one to have. if silver, when silver, I think silver is going to go higher. So yeah, HL, Hecla Mining, yeah. I think I have that, Hecla Mining, maybe. Pan American, Pan American Silver is another one. And First Majestic. PBR, do you still own some? No, not right now, but maybe I'll buy some more. But yeah, people need to, the other thing as well, with all that's going on, you need to decide whether you want to be too much in the system, and that's the way I see it. So if I'm going to be in the financial system, i.e. equities, I want to be in the mining sector, because I don't want to put too much in other sectors. But I might go into PBR again. They pay good dividends. Oh, the great taking. Yeah. If shares are electronically registered under your name and not managed by a custodian, how would it be subject to great taking? Well, if you read that book, he goes over all the rules and the laws that have been passed that basically, yeah, allow the powers that be to confiscate or take all your in a crisis, all your securities as collateral for all the losses that the banks will have from derivatives. Yeah, and he has a lot of references. So he's not just saying that, but I don't know exactly what these are. But I read the book. You can Google The Great Taking, and you can read it for free, or I bought the hard copy as well. A. Ron Hubbard, what are your thoughts on defense contractors? Well, that's more of a moral thing. If you want to benefit from misery and war, yeah, I think they will do well. But I'm not getting involved. It's like buying treasuries or gilts. Do I want to finance the people who are creating all the trouble and who are making your life difficult? But if you don't have a problem with the ethical part, yeah, I think they're probably going to do really well if things continue to kick off militarily. But I'm not, that's not for me. PBR is Petrobras. Yeah, that's the ticker on the US stock exchange, or in the US. PBR, it's a ADR. It's it's a Brazilian company. It's part state owned. It's the biggest company in Brazil, basically oil company, and they pay quite a big dividend. Dylan Roberts thinks all mines will be nationalized. That's possible. That's why I don't put. That's why, I have some investment in the miners, but it's something that if I lost everything there, it wouldn't affect me. It would a bit, but it wouldn't like be the end of everything. Bara Dawaja, are we more in 1928 or 2007? Well, we're in 2023, but I think this time is completely different from any other time. So yeah, I don't think we can even compare it to 28 or 07. And the reason why is because they've suppressed interest rates for so long. They've just disrupted all the financial markets, all the real estate, all the prices have been just totally manipulated by the powers that be, by government, central banks. And I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be a big mess. But usually things that are real survive. That's why I think gold and silver are good. And I think a lot of this malinvestment because of manipulated rates, they went into tech, paper assets. And if just a fraction of all that funny money flows into hard assets, it's like putting Niagara Falls into a hose. It's going to, yeah, that's the way I see it. PBR preferred or common? I think it's the common PBR. It's an ADR, depository rights, isn't it? ADR. It's the common stock. BP, how much of the Israeli situation is affecting the current price of gold and silver? Is the smashing over? Yeah, I think it is affecting it a little bit. And a lot of people that don't follow gold and understand gold will say, yeah, gold is going up just because of what's going on there. But I think the other reason gold is going up is because the treasury market is in the meltdown mode. All government bonds are going, down, and deficit spending is still huge in the US. We saw the national debt a couple of weeks ago go up by 250 billion. And yeah, that's why I think gold is going up. Yes, the fact that the world is becoming more divided doesn't help the dollar, because the dollar is the flip side of gold. So I think that's why. Robert, is the dirty man safe detectable? Yeah, it is detectable by metal detectors, but what he provides are little metal pellets that you can put all around where you put the dirty man safe. So it's not 100%, of course, it's detectable. But, if you put these metal pellets around where your safe is, when people are looking for it, they'll they'll find other things, and maybe they won't find your safe. But it's not, it's not metal detector proof. I'll take a couple of more questions because 10 o'clock, it's time to tune off. David Evans says, Amazon just got 750,000 robots to serve you in your 15-minute distributions. Yeah, I saw that. I think Mike from Rethinking the Dollar, he did a little video on Instagram of these robots. They're like 6 foot tall. Yeah, that's the other thing about when they manipulate interest rates. The big companies, they borrow cheaply, and they're able to circumvent labor. And that's what it does. It automates things more. Let's see how it goes, these robots. I don't think it's a good thing, but yeah, what can you do? Maybe, I use Amazon, maybe use them a little less. It's difficult. Jeffrey Buman, thank you for having Rafi on. Why is it no one talks about political turmoil in Israel prior to this invasion? Yeah, I know, Rafi. I remember that there's something to do with the judicial system, and Rafi was saying 6 months ago that the Israeli state was almost collapsing, and Netanyahu was in trouble. So yeah, it's because I agree with you. It's very convenient, and I'm not playing down the deaths and the stuff that's gone on in the last is that 12, how many days is it? A couple of weeks. But yeah, it's strange. Ron Hubbard, yeah, The Mandibles is such a good book. Thanks for recommending it. Yeah, it's actually one of the viewers that recommended it to me a few years ago. I have to thank her too for that. All right. So I'm going to thank all of you for having been here on the live stream. If you're new to the channel, think about subscribing and make sure you hit the like button, and have a great rest of the weekend, wherever you may be. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care, everyone. And thanks again for supporting the channel.